Joan, I have a fascination with theater etiquette with audiences. These days you go to a play and there's always someone talking or their beepers are going off or cellular phones. What have been some of the worst interruptions that you've encountered when you've been on stage?
The worst interruption I encountered, I think, well, Wednesday matinees are pretty difficult. Usually as soon as the lights go down, there's a sea of cellophane, that peppermints that are being opened, etc. And I remember the worst interruption, though, I had was when I was doing the Heidi Chronicles, and within the first minute, I have a big monologue at the beginning, which is an art lecture, and within the first minute, some woman, from like 20 rows back said, "I can't hear you!" She screamed it. And I wanted to say, well, if there wasn't so much cellophane opening, around you, maybe you'd have a chance. That was probably the most bold interruption I've ever experienced.
It's funny when actors are earlier in their career, when they're struggling to make money, they do all kinds of jobs. Was commercials, was that something that you ever pursued?
I tried it a little bit. I auditioned for commercials and I was so bad at it. Completely bad at it. No, I was a secretary. The whole time when I lived in Chicago and worked with the Steppenwolf Theater Company and did plays at night, I was a full-time secretary during the day, so that was really the only thing I ever did.
Well, what kind of company did you work for?
It was an educational film company, actually. They made, student film, films for high schools about Bolivia and things like that, so. They were a great group of people. They were really, really nice, but that's what I did. I never, I thought I'd be a terrible waitress, so I never even tried.
Every actor, when they go to LA for the first time, they have that first Hollywood moment, whether it's the limo ride or seeing a sub. Your first big LA moment?
My first big LA moment, I had never been there before. I was auditioning for a film. I didn't know where I was. They sent a taxi to pick me up, not a car. So I just said, my hotel is the name of the hotel is blah, blah, blah. I forgot what it was. He said, well, where? I said, it's in Los Angeles. He said, where? I said, it's in Los Angeles. He was a new driver, we got lost, and so that happened, and then later on in the afternoon I had the audition and I had no idea there were side gates. So I was sitting like on the I forget which lot it was, but it was on the front steps where like Gone with the Wind was shot, and I was expecting somebody to find me. And so I was just sitting there and I was like, there's nobody around here. It was a Sunday afternoon and I had no idea that gates even existed and you had to go around, etc. So that was my first day ever in Los Angeles.
I loved watching the Oscars last year and enjoyed seeing you walking around with the great looking dress and you seemed to be in seventh heaven.
It was a great dress. I'd never worn anything like that, and I never went to prom, so it was great to have that dress on.
well, how surreal were the Oscars for you?
It began to get surreal sort of as you were tied up in traffic heading to the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in this big limo with this mountain of fabric sitting there, and my agent and my sister was there and my publicist, and we were all just kind of talking about it. My publicist Simon said that my speech was way too long and I needed to cut it, and so I'm like sitting there going. He said they'll cut, because I had to write something down. It's like if I get this thing, I would have to write something down. I don't think I could just get up and say something. So, but. Fortunately, I had been to a few awards things earlier in the year and luncheons, so it was, walking through the line wasn't as surreal as it might have been if you're just kind of going in cold. That would be a little bit much, I think.